Hey everybody, my name is Kara Brown. I am an urban fantasy author and I'm here to talk to you about being social on social media. So before I actually get into that, I just wanted to thank a lot of you who sent me some messages and DMs after my last video. I was actually not expecting that support at all. I was expecting the reverse, and I'm very humbled and floored by the kind words that you've given me. Thank you. But I'm here to talk about social media because social media as an author is a tool that you can utilize in order to help increase your reach, meet new people, and network. And you definitely want to do these things as you are progressing forward with your author career. Now, there are a lot of different social media platforms out there that you can use. I am not going to cover them all in this video because if I did, this would be a really long video and we don't have time for that. In this video, we are going to talk about Tumblr, we are going to talk about Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube because those are the ones I frequently see used by authors. And I think that those are probably the ones that you want to cover. Maybe in some later videos, if there's a request for them, I'll talk about the other platforms, but those are the ones I'm going to focus on today. So let's talk about Twitter first, because that's the one that people usually hear about the most. And Twitter is basically a very fast platform. In order to stay kind of relevant on that platform, you have to post anywhere between 5 and 16 times a day, and you are working with messages that are 280 characters, that's including spaces, and you're basically trying to convey very brief messages to the outside world. Now, Twitter does have some really awesome features in regards to networking. Some people hold like little social parties on Twitter, which are really useful. So for example, Kim Chance, who's a young adult author, has a thing that she hosts every now and then. It's called Chance to Connect. It's a hashtag. And basically she has 6 questions that she asks in the course of an hour, and people get to read them and friend people that have similar interests or people that they just think are cool. And this is honestly probably how I've met about 80% of the people that I currently follow. Now, a lot of people do get kind of like obsessed with the follower count, and all I can really tell you is that if you are going to follow somebody, follow them because you want to follow them, not follow them so that way they do a follow back. People are very particular about who they want to follow, and if they feel like they don't get an engagement with you, they'll drop you. So one of the things that we do have to talk about is getting noticed on Twitter. And when I say notice, I don't mean like go do something controversial. I'm talking about basically having a hashtag in your tweet that allows people to find it, because people do search for things via hashtag. Think of it like a word search. And once you have a hashtag, it kind of goes onto this thing called the hashtag map, and people can find it at some point. When you're working with Twitter, do not have more than 2 hashtags in whatever post that you're doing. The marketing team got together and they did some research, and they found out that if you have more than 2 hashtags, the influence and the reach that you have actually goes down. So just keep that in mind. Now, you can either put these hashtags like at the end of your tweet, or you can kind of work it into what you're saying, just because there's that character limit and you're trying to convey whatever meaning it is that you are trying to share with the world. No wrong answers, just kind of do what works for you. Now, your bio and basically your banner on Twitter is kind of like a first impression that people have, and you can make those whatever you want. That's up to you. I would recommend that the picture that you use for Twitter is something professional, like nothing crazy going on in the background. I've seen some people with like a book in front of their face. I have a headshot in mine. Just kind of what works for you. I did notice, however, because originally I did have like a little cartoon drawing that I did as my avatar, and the moment I switched to my actual face, my subscriber thing started to go up. So people are more inclined to interact with a person rather than a cartoon figure. So unless you are actually doing illustrations, then that's probably okay. If you're not really sure what to do for your banner or what to put on it, there is a website called canva.com where it basically has a whole bunch of Twitter templates that you can use. You can put different things on it. Just keep in mind that when people are first seeing you, what they're usually doing is they're putting like a mouse over your icon, and then that will have your Twitter banner show up. So whatever you put on there does need to be seen by little tiny screenshot. Your bio on Twitter is also going to kind of convey your personality. Some people are professional, some people are sarcastic, some are witty. I say have easily bred by tacos because it's true. I would really like some tacos right now. It is 2 p.m. where I am, and I'm really hungry, and I really want some tacos. Something that you can do is you can go and check out like some other authors and see how they do their bio and see kind of what works best for you in that. So this kind of brings us to another platform that we're going to talk about in regards to Instagram. Now, Instagram is different than Twitter because while Twitter is very kind of like short message based, Instagram is very picture focused. Now, earlier you heard me say that on Twitter you have to post anywhere between 5 and 16 times a day in order to be relevant. It's very different on Instagram. If you actually post more than 3 times a day on Instagram, you get marked as spam. And in Twitter, we're where it's kind of discouraged for you to use more than 2 hashtags, I would actually encourage you to use 30 hashtags, which is the max amount that you can use in an Instagram post. But I would try and change up the hashtags that you're using depending on what you're posting, just because if you continue to post the same things, after a while you do get whitelisted. So kind of switching between one thing or another is going to help you with that. And later on in this video, I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. Now, unlike Twitter, you actually have less room to work on your bio than you do with Twitter. It's not very forgiving. Something that I've done that actually works really well for me is that when you're going in there and you're messing with your settings, I've got my name and then I've got author right next to it. So that way when people first come to the page, they know that I am an author. I've also, in the description of my bio, I have 3 hashtags. So when people do the hashtag search, they can immediately see that my bio, that my profile comes up. Now, when you are working with Instagram, I have seen it recommended that you have a particular theme with your Instagram, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that towards the end when I'm talking about basically ways to help you be, I don't want to say successful, but to increase your reach on Instagram. We cannot talk about social media without talking about the big dog in the room, and that is actually going to be Facebook. Facebook is really good when you need to create groups, when you need to make events, and when you want to have a way to communicate with people, pretty much in general. As much as people have very mixed opinions about Facebook and how it's integrated into their lives and constantly watching them, it still is a great way to communicate with other people. Not to mention that it has got a lot of people on it, so you would be kind of daft to just completely ignore that. The next one on the list is going to be Tumblr, and I'll be honest with you, Tumblr is not my tempo. Tumblr is a site where you can either post your blog. I see a lot of artists go on there to share their artwork, and it's just a place where you can communicate with people in general. In the past, when I tried to use Tumblr, I was very put off with it because before the changes that happened in December, it was a very large pub for pornographic images. Since then, that's been taken down. But at the same time, I'm not sure what system that they're using to identify inappropriate materials, but there are things that are getting flagged on there that don't need to be flagged. And I haven't been there since January of the start of 2019, so I am not sure what that environment is like at the moment. Although, I'll be honest with you, while Tumblr is great for a blogging platform, it does have some really nice templates and things like that. There is kind of a very toxic part of Tumblr, and usually what happens is if somebody who is part of that toxicity finds your account and decides to not like you, they'll bring all their friends onto like a giant horde of ants, and I've seen a lot of people actually leave Tumblr through this activity, and definitely not my tempo at all. If you are somebody who actually uses Tumblr and you see that there's a great side to it, will you please leave some comments down below and kind of talk about the positive aspects of Tumblr? As you can tell, my experience, while limited, was not very positive, and I would just like to be able to present the people who are watching this video both sides of what's going on. Now, the last platform that we're going to discuss in this video is actually YouTube. If you thought writers were awkward in general, try putting them in front of a camera. So as somebody who does use multiple platforms, I can tell you that YouTube actually takes up more of my time in terms of planning, production, and execution. So a lot of times you hear people say all you need is a cell phone camera or a camera in general, and they're right. I'm literally just recording this with the camera that's on my laptop right now, but editing it is a little more tricky. Unfortunately, my computer does not support, I don't have Movie Maker anymore. I don't want to guide a Mac program, and the program that I actually use is going to be Filmora. Now, while in the other platforms I was talking about, gotta post 5 to 16 times a day on Twitter, 1 to 2 times a day on Instagram, you can literally produce as much content as you want on YouTube, and people will watch it if they can find you. Now, whatever content that you decide to make is really going to be up to you. Here on YouTube, there are many things that a writer can engage with in order to produce content. You can do book reviews, which there are lots of those. You can do writing advice, which there are also lots of those. You can basically talk about your various experiences in publishing. There are lots of those as well. And even though I'm saying there are lots of those, these are usually people from different walks of life, different experiences, and they're able to shed light onto marketing and the marketing industry and kind of explaining how the publishing process works, from their own standpoint. A lot about what I learned in regards to publishing and self-publishing and all the hoops that you have to jump through were basically stuff I learned through YouTube. There's also a really good community of people here. I currently work with a group of lady authors who like to do writing sprints. I do these writing sprints with them basically Monday through Friday. We get together, we gab for a little bit, and then we go through 15-minute writing sprints, take a 5-minute break, 15, 5, 15, 5. And that's kind of helped me, but it's also really nice because I get to talk to people outside my house. Now, I will warn you, the biggest pain in the ass that you're probably going to encounter with when you're working on YouTube is not the monetization or worrying about people finding you. It's actually going to be the editing. The editing for me takes the longest out of recording these videos. So just keep that in mind as you progress forward. You are going to encounter some hiccups when you work with YouTube, and you're also going to have to, you're going to have learning curves. If you look at the first video I made versus, this one and later ones that come on, you can kind of see how I get more comfortable in front of the camera. I've obviously found a way to edit in a way that looks beneficial on the camera, and just kind of getting more comfortable with the process in general. Now, because I don't want to turn this into how to make a successful YouTube channel video, which there are plenty of those as well, you can find those. I do want to talk about basically ways to be successful on social media, and to be successful on social media, you need to be social. I could probably spend a very long time talking about the importance of engagement on social media, which is basically where you either ask your audience a question or they make a comment and you respond to them. And the best way I can really summarize this is that when people are trying to talk to you on social media, talking back is just, it shows that you're human, it shows that you're engaged with them, and it kind of shows that the people who are following you matter. And you don't want to be that guy that's at the party who's kind of hanging out with everybody, but he's always going over buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Something that I would propose that you do in order to kind of spice up your social media is obviously change things up. Don't post the same stuff that you have on Twitter, on Instagram, and put it on YouTube at the same time. Usually you want people to come to your different platforms because they can get something different there. For example, on my Instagram, I post a lot of my doodles on there. I really like posting the doodles. Those are fun. On Twitter, I'm usually kind of trying to do the Twitter engagements. I'm just trying to talk to people, ask them questions. And then here on YouTube, I try to provide free content in regards to being successful as a writer. I could do book reviews because I do read a lot of books and I do have very strong thoughts on these books, but booktube actually scares me. In fact, authortube scares me as well, but I'm still here because I'm trying to be brave. And you are going to experience that same apprehension because when you are on social media, you're kind of just putting yourself out there and anybody can see you, make an assumption about you, and talk about you. So it happens outside of the internet, so you might as well just get used to it. Something that I found that helps me takes the pressure off of working with social media is kind of planning the content in advance. And you can use a website called canva.com to help you with that. I mentioned Canva kind of earlier in the video where I was talking about the Twitter banner, but Canva is really useful. Canva allows you to make images and pictographs and all these other nice things that you can put up on various social medias. And the thing that really rocks about it is that the picture dimensions are already done. One of the things I like to do is I just like to throw up a little motivational image up on Twitter because Motivation Monday, right? And then I found out that Canva lets you post directly from there onto Twitter, and that was a huge game changer for me because what I used to do is I'd have to make the graphic, download it, put it on my phone, and then upload it from there. Lots of steps. And the moment Canva made it so you can just post straight to Twitter, I was oh. But it doesn't do that with all the platforms yet, but there are some services that you can use. One is Hootsuite, the other one is Buffer, and you can use Trello as well to plan out your social media content. Now, Trello is free. It takes a little bit of getting used to when it comes to navigating it, but it's really nice because once you put the stuff on there from your computer, all you have to do is just access it from your phone. You can get the image, you can copy the page. It's really good. I was using that for a really long time, but the whole reason I left Trello and I went to Buffer is because it would just automatically push it through for me and it didn't need any action from me. Now, if you're still kind of intimidated by the being social on social media, there are a few things out there that will help you. On Instagram, they have a couple of what they call challenges. Basically, somebody makes a challenge and it's kind of you have to post with these themes, for these days. I like those just because it spices up my feed and it kind of helps me challenge myself in what I'm going to present that day. I do cheat a little bit and I use drawings where people have to scramble to find photos, so sorry guys. Twitter does have little Twitter socials. My favorite one that I like to be part of is one called Chance to Connect. It's hosted by Kim Chance. Really nice person. She's the sweetest person I think I've ever met. I swear she's made of sugar. Now, I know that there's podcasting and I would love to talk about podcasting, but I'm not qualified to talk about podcasting. I can't tell you what equipment to use, the best ways to go about it, how to network, because I just don't podcast at all. There are lots of other authors, Vivian Reese has a podcast. She can probably give you a lot more insight in her videos in regards to starting a podcast. And some people like doing that more just because where I'm putting my face on YouTube, they can hide behind a mic and people don't see how they look. I will say though that podcasts are very popular. I didn't listen to very many of them, but I find myself listening to more and more of them all the time, and I'll listen to podcasts that either have to do with like, new discoveries in science to heaving bosoms, newest book of the week and all that. Now that was a lot of info, I know, and I kind of took a whole bunch of information and crammed it into one video. And one thing I do want to share with you guys is that there are literally like anywhere between 15 to 30 minute videos about how to use each of those platforms. So while I gave you a quick overview, there is a lot more that you can do to be successful and seen on those platforms. But I do hope like this little quick introduction to all of them and how you can use them to benefit you does kind of take like that edge off of it, and it allows you to feel comfortable to at least go out there and try it. So that brings us to the end of the video. I do want to remind you guys that my short story is still out. If you do not, I have it actually available on Kindle Unlimited right now. So you can either pay 99 cents, you can read on Kindle Unlimited, or if you don't want to do either of those, I do have obviously my newsletter where you can read that short story for free. I'm providing as many options as I can at this time because I would just love it if you could read my story and just see if you are a reader matched up with me. And if you do sign up for the newsletter, you do get entered into the giveaway that I have monthly, so free stuff for everybody. Now, if you actually do use social media, I'm kind of curious about what your main platform is and why you use it. My platform that I usually like to use the most is actually Instagram. I like Instagram because I'm a visual person and I like to do the pictures and I love the challenges. I do have some good news that is actually on the way. I don't know when I can share it. It's either going to be this Friday or it's going to be next week. I will let you know probably on Wednesday when I can share it, but it's good things are happening. But that is all I have for this video. If you have a question or you need me to clarify anything that I talked about, please feel free to put a comment down below. I will answer your questions. If you actually happen to like the content of this video or any of the other videos that I have posted up here, please feel free to subscribe. If you click on the notification bell, you will know when I come out with the videos, although for the month of April, I can tell you that they are coming out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then once April passes, I go back to having my videos once a week on Friday. That is all I have for you today. I hope you guys have a great Monday, or at least not a bad Monday.